Welcome to my Vision News, another video, three news stories. First one is from Ethiopia. US has approved first loan for Ethiopian government since the signing of the peace deal between TPLF and Ethiopian federal government last month. Which US institution approved this loan? Because we know that last week some US members of Congress wrote a letter opposing any grant of loans to Ethiopian government until full implementation of the peace deal. Secondly, PM Abiy was in Wolaita today, where he inaugurated some projects built by First Lady's office. PM Abiy's wife Zinash is monitoring some projects. Her office is overseeing the implementation. PM Abiy was there to inaugurate flour and bread factory. I have some questions about Zinash's activities. Is she working in government position? Because we know that Meles Zenawi's wife, Azif Masfan, is accused of corruption. She is running an NGO. And people say she is one of the richest women in Ethiopia. And lastly, because Eritrea is demanding apology. Eritrea wants Eritrean detractors to apologize. Why is Eritrea demanding this apology? And from which people this apology is being demanded? Firstly, viewers, in some previous videos we discussed the plight of Ethiopian economy, huge loan payments pending, no substantial foreign investment is coming, exports increasing, but foreign exchange reserves are depleting. That is why Ethiopia, Ethiopian government, Ethiopian economy are in dire need of financial aid. Not humanitarian aid, which is arriving in Ethiopia through aid organizations. Ethiopian government wants direct financial aid in the form of loans, grants, etc. And PM Abiy, since the signing of the peace deal, PM Abiy's government has been trying to convince US, EU financial institutions to grant loans and grants to Ethiopian government and to approve loan payment rescheduling. Some talks were held when PM Abiy was in US last week. PM Abiy met with IMF top brass and other relevant people of financial institutions in the US. Now, a US institution has approved loan for Ethiopia. EXIM is name of this institution, Export and Import Bank of the US. EXIM. If you remember, 2 days ago I did a video about a letter written by 3 US members of Congress. Brad Sherman, Ilhan Omar, and James, 3 US members of Congress, wrote a letter to US State Department and US Secretary Antony Blinken and EXIM Bank, US Export-Import Bank. And the 3 members of Congress opposed any financial assistance for Ethiopian government, any loans for Ethiopian government until the full implementation of peace deal. Brad Sherman is accused of being pro-TPLF. And the case for approval of loan for Ethiopian Airlines was pending with EXIM Bank. A few hours ago on Thursday, EXIM Bank made its decision. Board of Directors of EXIM Bank has approved the loan, despite protest, despite opposition from some US members of Congress. 281 million US dollars transaction has been allowed by board of directors of this institution. PAFCO will grant this assistance, this loan to Ethiopian government. And this loan will be used to finance the purchase of Boeing 737 MAX aircrafts. Ethiopia is already purchasing, Ethiopian Airlines is already purchasing Boeing 737 MAX from US. Some arrived in Ethiopia in September this year, and more will arrive after the approval of this loan in March 2023. Can we say that PM Abiy, his visit to US is now producing results? That is why US Exim Bank has approved this transaction for Ethiopian government. Well, who manufactures Boeing 737 MAX? Of course, a US company, an American company. It's basically a business deal. America is giving loan, American bank giving loan to Ethiopian Airlines. The loan will be used to purchase a product manufactured in America. It means that America has more to gain from this transaction than Ethiopia. It's basically a business deal. Americans, they protect their own interests first. And there is more in this transaction for the US than for Ethiopia. Secondly, PM Abiy was in the SNNPR today, Southern Nation, Nationalities and Peoples region. In SNNPR, we know that a separate new regional state is going to be created in coming months. A referendum will be held. Voter registration is going to start in coming weeks. Wolaitas, Gurages, though they have been struggling for independent states, but they are going to be merged with other zones and special Woredas to be part of a new regional state. And before that, we are seeing protests, both in Wolaita, in Gurage as well. PM Abiy inaugurated a project in Wolaita by the name of Wolaita Sodo Flour and Bread Factory. The factory has been constructed by Zinash, who is PM Abiy's wife, First Lady. Her office monitored this entire project. PM Abiy inaugurated the project today. The first purpose of this visit is to take people of Wolaita on board because there are concerns that federal government, Prosperity Party are imposing their will on the people of Wolaita by denying a separate state for this zone. Secondly, I have a question that in which capacity is Zinash monitoring these projects? I think she's running an NGO as well. Where does she get money for these projects? Is it state money? Is it money by some private donors? Or is it money raised by her NGO? Several questions. I'm asking these questions because a few days ago, some news outlets claimed that Zinash was involved in money laundering, that her NGO was being used by PM Abiy's government, by PM Abiy for money laundering. I don't have any solid information to back these accusations, but questions are there. There must be clarity. Who is in which capacity is Zinash monitoring these projects? Secondly, we know that Meles Zenawi's wife, late Meles Zenawi's wife, Azif Masfan, faces criticism regarding her assets. She is one of the richest women in Ethiopia, people say. And she's running an NGO as well, Meles Foundation. People accuse her of corruption, that she exploited her position as Prime Minister's wife when Malice was the Prime Minister of the country, and she acquired wealth illegally. She denies, obviously. Similar allegations being leveled against Zinash as well, that her NGO is involved in money laundering, other illegal activities. There must be clarity by the PM office how much money was spent on this project. How was this money raised? Details should be made public. Lastly, was Eritrea is demanding apology from those who have been spreading rumors about Eritrea, who have been trying to demonize Eritrea, who were involved in witch hunting against Eritrea. This demand came from Yemeni Gebremeskel, Information Minister of Eritrea, yesterday after Somalia soldiers undertaking in Eritrea started returning to Somalia. You know that around 48 hours ago, first flight carrying Somalia soldiers who underwent military training in Eritrea arrived in Mogadishu. 5 flights have landed at Mogadishu airport so far. 5,000, more than 5,000 remain in Eritrea for more than 2 years. They are returning. When they were in Eritrea, Abdisalam Babikar, UN Special Rapporteur on Eritrea, in a report claimed that some of those soldiers, Somalia soldiers, were deployed by Eritrean government to fight in Tigray against Tigray forces. Eritrea denied, Somalia's government denied, Ethiopian government denied. That report was used as reference by some TPLF leaders too, to claim that Somalia soldiers were deployed to Tigray. We never saw any visual confirmation about the presence of Somalia soldiers in Tigray. Now, Eritrea is demanding apology. It was also claimed that some of these soldiers had been killed fighting in Tigray, and their deaths were being covered up. The soldiers are returning safe and sound to Somalia. Eritrea now wants apology from Abdisalam Babikar and others who spread disinformation, who try to demonize Eritrea. Very valid demand for apology. Abdisalam Babikar, though he is not allowed to visit Eritrea, he is a special UN rapporteur on Eritrea, but Eritrean government did not give him access to Eritrea. Maybe that is why he is unable to see both sides of the picture. He relies on verbal statements. Eritrean government from day one rejected this UN special rapporteur who was appointed to monitor human rights situation in Eritrea. His mandate was extended a few months ago. Eritrea opposed extension of his mandate. Abdisalam Babikar must explain now when these Somalia soldiers are returning to Eritrea, where did he get the information from about the Somalia soldiers allegedly being deployed to Tigray by Eritrean government. Safe and sound, they're returning to Somalia, but still, how many were sent to Eritrea? How many are returning? I think complete details should be shared by the two governments, Somalia and Eritrea. Thank you for watching.